stupid, but... Oh, there we go, trying to be stupid, but... Oh, there we go, trying to be stupid, but... Oh, there we go, trying to be stupid, but... Oh, there we go, trying to be... I've got a sound going. Oh, there we go.
Those are the worst.
There we go.
Those are the worst.
Alright, I'm going to mute that channel, and I'm not going to be on it, so if anyone sees anything coming up in chat there, let me know. Same as with Discord, because I will not have it on, because I don't have my second monitor set up quite at the moment. I'm going to reduce the background music a little bit here.
I'm gonna use my tablet as a second monitor.
Alright, well, for everyone here, welcome to our Session 0 for our upcoming, at least, short campaign of Torg Eternity. I'm calling this story arc Chasing the Eye. One of our players, Chris Fougere, who was streaming earlier today, is sick, so he will be joining us potentially in chat and in spirit, but not actually on the game call, because he might call it an early night at some point, which is totally understand. With me I have my partner Alex Driscoll, also known as Nightshade Gaming, Josh Lapointe, also known as Elder User, and Jessica Lapointe, Pink Spider 6969. So we will be working on our character creation and the game session settings plans through our Session 0, which is why I have an open journal on the world map currently too. So feel free to say hi, introduce yourselves a bit more if you like.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
So one of the first things really is talking about what everyone's looking at playing. I know that Jessica has a solid concept in mind and some ideas for where that's going to go. Same with Alex. Josh seemed a little less so. Well, so why don't we start with Josh?
Yeah, sounds good. And to your commentary, pretty much exactly that. I have no thoughts, qualms currently of character concept, so
Okay.
yeah.
Well, one of the main things I usually look at here and try and reinforce for our larger or more consistent table is you try and break it down into roles very similar to like your traditional tabletop RPG. Alex sounds like he's going melee DPS with his lizard, his Edinos character. While Jessica sounds like melee tank with a Dwarven Defender type of build, or a Dragon Warrior as the case may be. So that would still leave healing / divine, arcane / support, and, well, just about everything else under the sun, because you don't need everything at this table.
Well, if that's the case, yeah, I can try and do healer or cleric, I guess, to just kind of put a Pathfinder D&D equivalent. Yeah, we can give that a try and see what happens.
There could be a lot of fun with it, because there's a lot of different angles you can go, and then, like, well, similar to the larger concept of your clerics, your priests, your divine souls, as they expanded, you're not just there to, buff and heal the party. You have the option of some really powerful attack spells potentially too. Some of them are very situational. And unlike other systems, you do have the option of branching into multiple disciplines depending on where you're from and what your build looks like.
Excellent.
So when it comes to divine magic, generally speaking, you would look at our different cosms, and we'd be looking at the spirit ranking to determine your more ideal options.
Oh, okay.
That said, it's not always about the highest and the lowest. There are some features in each. But with those numbers talked about, for example, you have Isle, which is invaded by elves, dwarves, dragons. It's very much your standard swords and boards high fantasy realm, but that ranges to everything in from mythology and tradition within the Isles of the United Kingdom, as well as Finland, Norway, Sweden. Like, you have great spirits, you've got giants, you've got Vikings, you've got your knights, you've got your elves, you've got your dragons, western, everything, and land underneath. So, generally speaking, there's a lot of clerics and priests. The world is often divided into light and dark. Those are also different types of perks available to you, aka your extra abilities. They have a spirit of 18, which not the highest, but it is decently high. Generally speaking, anything that's I'll go to Korth, for example. Korth being modern world, slightly more advanced, slightly more still in the world than what we see for magic and such. For example, it has a spirit of 10. Magic, miracles happen, but they're a bit trickier to pull off. They tend to cause issues. They tend to be less likely to be believable. Similar magic is a 9, so arcane casting doesn't happen quite as often. Their social axiom is really up there at 23, which is basically burgeoning into the start of psionics, and a decently high tech at 23. But we're focusing on your spirit currently. So the next one usually is cyber papacy.
Yeah, I was reading about that one.
Yeah. So, invaded by everything that you normally come to expect and see when you think of your cyberpunk Shadowrun realms, but instead of it being entirely like intrigue and corporate drama, it's the church has taken over, the cyber church. Religion is a game, however, so you get better treatment, better access, better points and freebies by abiding by the church's laws and dictates, and that can include reporting your neighbors for potential heresy, suspicion of areas, watching out things. So it does still have a lot of the suspicion, but it's not corporate. It's church versus resistance versus trying to survive on the street. The ultimate highest of the spirit realms cosms is the Living Lands. The Living Lands invaded North America and into Central America, and it has a spirit rating of 24, meaning that almost any miracle under the sun can happen there. But it is a throwback realm. It's the land of the lost, the land below, where if you have a strong reality, you can play Cadillacs and dinosaurs. You can drive through the primeval jungle in your car that's only maintained because you have such a strong connection to a different reality that has that as a technology, whereas everyone else watches it just fall apart. But there's a lot of miracle magic in that realm because the gods are real to them. Lenala comes down and gives the blessing of life. Bruk-Ka channels the powers of death, and his optants continue to raise the dead. And usually the last one in the conversation for spirit is the Nile Empire itself, which is a land of adventure. It's your classic pulp radio drama that you may have seen or read, stuff like Doc Samson, The Shadow, The Spirit, stuff that really was the whole vibe between those type of shows and movies, even though a lot of the modern audience didn't get them, even when they've been redone by Hollywood, where, you know, like you have Samuel L. Jackson as the octopus. I've got 8 of everything, baby. It's over the top. Heroes never die, but they do fail. But Egyptian mythology meets potential other realities.
I think I'll probably go with the Nile Empire. Okay. I'm very much got the whole.
He could be Rick O'Connell.
I was just going to say that
Yeah,
I've
you can
got
absolutely be Rick O'Connell. The Mummy very much is an ode to the pulp dramas of the time. a little bit more of a modern mentality to it, but it doesn't lose its sense of adventure. It doesn't lose anything of that either. Okay. Empire Miracles. Alright, so with that said, we do have a series of different archetypes. I'm just going to take a quick look here. I'll just... Oh, did I actually give these access? Alright. I'm going to try and get underneath the meeple icon for actors. I'm just trying to make sure that I give you guys the ability to see the archetype folder.
I do currently see them.
Yeah. The nice, which I colored blue. I'm just configuring ownership on the rest of them just to make sure they're all there. So, for example, there's for their base examples, I should say. There's a few different types. Do they have miracles? Yes, he does. So there's the Amatist Hem and Netjer. Let me get the book. Here we are. So I will share this. I mean, I gave access to it through our other folder, but... Okay, so in the journal entries, I just gave the Royal Empire source book for everyone. I'll put the core rules and Isle and Living Lane because I know, well, because I know people are going to work into that. So with the Nile Empire source book, if we go to the actual miracles section for it, they talk about the different potential religions if you choose to be directly from that faith. There's Amatism, which is very much very similar to the faith of the ancient Egyptians, but altered by Torg Eternity's Dr. Mobius and his father. So it's a very to the ancient Egyptian religion where the gods and goddesses have a darker tone. Osiris is conspicuous by his complete absence, and the pharaoh, similar to some interpretations, is the aspect of Ra on the world, and therefore is the highest of the faiths.
Okay.
So if you're in the Nile Empire and you take all the stuff to really go into to being an Amatist, you do run the risk of if Pharaoh Mobius ever tells you to do something, because the Pharaoh is always right, you have to do it. It makes it really hard to be a hero and an Amatist with the full worship thing if you're in the Nile Empire. Yep. Obviously, there's still Coptic Christians. There's still some Christians in Islam that are part of the Nile Empire. They converted, but they didn't convert their faiths, as well as traditional Coptics.
Okay.
Because once again, I think it's like the 20s pulp serials. There's a lot of 1920s Westerners, in the area trying to make life better.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that, to your point, probably going ahead and aligning with the whole, Pharaoh is always is always right. Probably might get us in more trouble than what it's worth.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, come on. You know how much you love to stir the pot?
But I don't have to, Yeah, no. So probably, to your point, probably like 1920s, minority Coptic Christians or something along the lines of that.
Okay. Let's see. Alright, so one of the big things then is let's get through this, follow the book a little bit here, to grab the actual core one for how it flows. Alright, so as you... Let's go bring up your character sheet, because I'll watch as you... I'll check things as you work on it, because you have one for yourself there. So your race is human. You can change your cosm to Nile Empire now.
Excellent.
Alright. Your possibilities, your default is 3, so unless we check a perk, you'll just put 3 in that box there. Okay. So, you see your starting attributes, which are all set at 8. Now, I'm going to give you some content there so that you know what each applies to more than anything else.
Okay.
They're both partially straightforward and at the same time not entirely. So I'm just going to go to the skills chart, for example. So strength, outright, it's melee damage, it's carrying capacity, which doesn't come up often. Brawn, endurance, physical fitness. You might need to roll it to lift a heavy object, otherwise you can lift up so much. But like I said, the direct in-game is physical damage for melee.
Okay.
Spirit is the main thing it comes up for is twofold. One, it's your resolve, your self-confidence, your resistance to fear, which does come up fairly frequently in these games, despite it being a late note. But also, it is the driving trait for your checks for faith, which is what you'll be rolling to see about your pulling off your powers if you're using the miracles. It is also the dominant stat for willpower, which helps you resist fear even better, because you get to add more points than just your stat. And reality, which allows you to remain empowered when stuff goes sideways. That could be anything from you rolled a natural 1 under most conditions that were not supposed to be in that area, like channeling a more powerful miracle than the zone can normally approve, or just a bad draw on the initiative card that makes everyone have to check their reality or disconnect because there's a storm.
Okay.
Tertiarily, or predominantly depending on your character build type sometimes, it also influences the interaction ability of Intimidate. Interaction attacks allow you to reduce either the attack or defense of an opponent. If you score more, the more successful you are, the more you can impact, or you can choose to split it between the two. And when it comes to minions or goons, and sometimes with the main bad guys, but not as potent, you get what's called a player's choice, which can help you change the battlefield layout. Minions get scared and run off. They wind up being maneuvered underneath a pillar that collapses, crushing them. You know, they get wiped off the board. Mind is your intelligence, perception, knowledge, and cunning. For yourself, the main things to watch out for are evidence analysis and find, which are 2 perception type abilities. Evidence analysis is reading the area, seeing what's going on, and putting 2 and 2 together. Kind of Sherlock Holmesy. Find is pure classic perception, like I'm looking for, is there any hidden doors? Is there any items hiding here? Additionally, first aid and medicine. And a couple other abilities that may or may not matter depending on your build. Dexterity is the majority of your attack rolls, because it's all the combat skills have dexterity as a base, as well as, because of that, all of your defensive rolls, as well as a good number of abilities, but a lot of them are like vehicle driving or dodging and maneuvering. And lastly, charisma, of course, is how likable, attractive, or influential an individual you might be. And when it comes to that, that can also mean it's your defense against people potentially trying to taunt you.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So you have 40 points to assign between the 5 traits. You can reduce a trait as low as 8. And you can raise a trait to as high as 13 as a human.
Okay, so just to recap that again, you said it could go as low as 8?
As low as 5.
Oh, low as 5, sorry. I was like, oh, but they're all 8s. Okay, 1 sec.
Yeah. I believe that the base has it just spread out between them. Just give me a moment here.
No, it's all good.
Because, that looks like they're assigned but spread out. So basically your Fallout building with no extra points at the moment. You're just taking stuff off to add it somewhere else.
Cool. That works for me. And you said max is 13 for human? Okay. Alright, let's just go whole hog straight into it that way.
Okay. So next, you see the master list of skills, as you had reduced it and opened it back up there. You have 16 skill points that you can spread out between them. You'll notice that they've already adjusted based on your stat changes for the ones that you can roll without having anything in them. So if you look at a skill, you just click on the box for adds and put in a number between 1, let's double check here. Typically it's 1 to 3 with your starting. 1 to 2 is some experience, 3 to 4 is advanced, and 5 is true experts, which is part of why it's usually, no can have more than 3 points at creation. One of the big ones you'll want is down in your second, your faith. Because when it comes to spell casting, psionics, miracles, some of them are you must reach this flat difficulty, and other ones are you have to test it against the opponent.
I noticed that some of them didn't have anything to begin with. Is that because of the fact you have to be trained in them to start? Okay. But putting 1 in language, that is fine at character creation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because you absolutely can advance them over time, and when I go to linguistics specifically, or language, additional languages can be taken as skills with 1 add in a language. So basically, you're buying them individually, but you'll pick one that you're fluent in general conversation. 2 is write and communicate complex concepts, and 3 is pretty much reasonably fluent, detect and mimic local dialects.
You said 16, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's the cleric going to use as a combat?
Well, remember, it is pulp, so you could be either aspect of Indiana Jones.
I was just going to say, is that when it's saying fire combat, is that pistols?
It is pistols and of all types. It can also allow you to fire anything that's not an energy-based weapon in more advanced areas. But it is the firearms ability.
All right, 2 more. Okay.
Okay. Back to that section. Okay, and everyone starts with 2 perks. So one of those you'll want to take is called Miracles. Which is under faith. Okay. I've got so many things. I didn't sort this part. I apologize.
It's all good.
So I'll grab it for you.
I'm trying to figure out how to add something to my sheet.
Well, you have to go to the items chart, which is the suitcase, and find it. That's why I said it's not sorted. So I will add miracles, and with the basically with the miracles perk, which requires you to have at least 1 add in faith, you begin with ward evil. They refer to as ward enemy a lot in the original printouts. Protection from evil, basically, and get to choose. Oh, I'll have to find the actual right. Where is it? It's not there. Alright, I'll find it later. And 2 other spells. 2 other miracles. So, let me go to that section here in the core book. You can also check the miracle section in the the Nile book if you have that popped open.
Yep.
So you said we had to find our sheet in the briefcase and items?
Not your sheet. The thing you're looking for is in the briefcase under, like, the book listing. For, like, core rulebook items.
I've got the rule books themselves, but I don't see anything under the briefcase.
Oh.
Yeah, it's empty for us too.
It's fine. Relax. Okay? Just a moment. So, for example, in your core miracles listings, there's Banish, which repels spirits, ghosts, ethereal beings. Bless, boost people's stats for a duration. Bounty, multiply single food water items so more can partake. Call animals, commune with spirits. Cure disease, curse, the opposite of bless, surprise. Healing, hellfire, which projects a gout of flame from your hand. Lightning strike, which you spend nothing but a turn castigating an individual so that a storm builds, and then lightning bolt strikes. But you can only use that once per scene.
Okay.
Repel, make way. Soothe to restore shock and calm people down. Strike, so increases the damage that can be done by a weapon. Your ward enemy, like I mentioned, give you defensive bonuses against supernatural evil. Wither, which just causes flat damage that ignores armor, but doesn't work on constructs of undead and objects. Those are the core book ones.
Okay.
So you get to choose 2 from between those, and the ones that aren't faith specific in the Nile Empire.
Yeah, I'm looking at those currently in the Nile Empire right now.
Yeah. And while you're taking a look at that, I'll try and configure when to owner for all of these for when I clean them up anyway, as well.
Scarab swarm, silly.
Yep.
All right, so just to recap, I get two of these, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
From your list, or the ones I went over as well.
Yeah. All right, I think I'm probably actually going to go with healing and wither.
Okay. I'll grab those then. As you drain the life fluids as given by the Nile Empire away, or the Nile River away, to return it to the land.
Exactly.
Okay. They're all added to your sheet there. So they're available for review. People may have noticed I changed should have changed the map.
Yep, thank you.
Now, of note in the Nile Empire, because they do can influence the character and how they behave. The three main laws are the law of action, where the dangers and stakes in the Nile Empire, their confrontations intensify to match the epic abilities of the combatants. A hero doesn't just battle their nemesis, they battle them on a speeding train which has just caught fire and their sidekick has been tied to the tracks ahead. The different custom cards for the Nile Empire that involve the law of action add innocents to be rescued or add dangerous elements and story complications. The law of action keeps things moving at a breakneck pace. When one battle ends, heroes rush headlong into another with no time for rest or recovery. The law of drama. A certain amount of spectacle accompanies every event in the Nile Empire. Emotions tend to be simple but heightened. People fall in love quickly and passionately. Rivalries become heated feuds. These passions drive the stories of the realm through their cosm cards. Death is rarely permanent in the Nile Empire, at least for Stormers and Storm Knights. Slain villains almost never leave a corpse. They fall into Nile, crash through a crumbling Cairo rooftop, are lost in the ruins of a burning building, dragged off by their lackeys, or otherwise vanish after being defeated.
They haven't been seen.
Hmm.
If the death doesn't happen on scene, we don't.
Yeah.
Always possibility for coming back.
Yeah, and important villains might also surrender before they risk a life and limb, or be knocked unconscious rather than perish. Killing a helpless person, even the most nefarious servant of Dr. Mobius, is a clear act of evil. Storm Knights who do so incur the wrath of the locals and the Delhi Council. They're supposed to be good guys after all. Of course, the same law of drama often means death is a temporary situation for the heroes as well. Storm Knights who fall in the Nile Empire might find their way back to life. Such a traumatic experience may change a character's perspective or produce a dramatic transformation. And the last core law is the law of heroism. The law of heroism is the source of pulp powers and a mighty tool in the Delhi Council's arsenal against the High Lords. The Nile Empire is about big action and heroic feats. The good guys are able to win even when they're greatly outnumbered. They escape death traps, stand up to villainy, and overcome seemingly impossible odds as they battle the forces of Pharaoh Mobius and the other terrors of the Nile Empire. Many powerful adversaries in the Nile Empire have special abilities, such as minions or Insidious. After all, a hero is often defined by the strength of the villain they battle. The law of heroes adds champions inclined towards the greater good, including Storm Knights.
Nice.
Uh-oh, Pharaoh Mobius is being opposed by his own world laws.
It serves his purposes.
Oh god, are we going to be in the Nile Empire?
You'll find out when we have that conversation in a little bit.
No, I asked mostly because, oh god, not my ex. I mean, different character, but still. Please, not my...
If Hooded Cobra comes up, okay? I'm not going to necessarily go there, but sometimes the scope of the adventure brings back characters. Just for hooks.
No, I couldn't help but make a little joke out of it.
Okay, so Josh, you do have the choice of another perk.
Okay.
Second free perk here. And basically comes down to what else would you like to do that defines your character?
Well, I think probably in the obvious is being a healer, but I think there's probably along the lines of maybe he's read the wrong book a couple too many times, or thinking now along the lines of maybe Evie reading from the Book of the Dead.
I was gonna say you're
that
more
type of-
Evie than Rick.
Yeah, we'll run with that instead.
Okay, well let's
So.
take a look here. So I'll just quickly go through the different ones for core.
And these are called
Perks.
also perks. Okay. I'm just taking a look, see if there's anything in the Nile Empire one too.
Yeah, pretty much all of the books have perks, and it's great to look at them. Some of them are perks that people can take regardless of cosm. Some of them are unique to their cosm.
Because there's a lot of things that get covered by certain categories, so and like there's things you might not normally consider a hallmark item, such as situational awareness, as a concept. Just as I'm flipping through here for some of the ones you qualify for. Strong-willed wouldn't necessarily be a bad one depending on how things go, but it's basically shoring up your opportunity when shoring up your opportunity to not die if you run the risk of things going that badly. But here we go. Because amongst the things in the Nile Empire is pulp powers.
Yeah, I was just reading that.
Like the core ones are an electro ray, flight, force field, mind control, super attribute, super skill, which lets you increase your attributes and skills. qualify for from the core book ones that you might be interested in. I should go back. I just thought of it as I saw one that I will mention in a moment. Okay, nothing in cyberware, nothing darkness, nothing dwarf, nothing Adinos, nothing electric samurai, nothing elf. Faith, we do not qualify for that yet, or that, but there's protected, which gives a bonus to your toughness against attacks made by supernatural evil. Spirit Bane, which lets you affect beings with the ethereal special abilities such as ghosts with unarmed or melee. Normally not guns, sadly. That's part of what makes it less interesting. Leadership perks, you don't qualify for any of them because of trait requirement. That's Isle, prowess. You qualify for double tap, which gives you a +1 to attack by firing 2 bullets. Endurance, because everyone qualifies for endurance, to increase your shock, which is basically your fatigue traits.
Yep.
Indomitable, whenever you choose to roll active to up your act defense by doing active defense, it's favored, so you roll 2 dice, keep the better. Situational awareness, you become hyper aware of surroundings, danger nears, marking exits for foe's intent. Once per scene, you may play a card from your hand directly into your pool when basically as combat or dramatic scene starts. Is usually the time it gets done, but you can do it at any point. Survivor, ignore all wound penalties. Strong-willed, test spirit for defeat instead of strength. Trademark weapon. When you're rolling your bonus damage, you reroll ones and accept the new result. Vengeful. When you take a wound, you're up, which is roll 2 dice, keep both on your next action against the offender. Yeah, the pulp powers, as we briefly touched on.
Yeah, I think I might actually do the pulp powers.
Okay. The one from Nile or the ones in the core?
So what I'm currently just reviewing through right now is the core. I just quickly looked through the Nile here. One moment.
Yep. And it gets fun because you can look at applying major or minor limitations to add stuff to it. To add the enhancement options. 2 minor to get 1 or 1 major to get 1. And there's no limit to the amount of limitations you want to take, too. So you could make like a force field that doesn't work against people wearing purple.
Yeah, I was reading that descriptor. That's funny.
As one of the minors on it.
Yeah, I'm just still going through here.
Yep. A Book of the Dead like power would probably fall into mind control, or either super attribute or super skill. For an immediate thing, but obviously anything can be thought up thematically.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take super skill. It's just going to, yeah. That's probably...
Well, you don't qualify yet, actually, because you have to have at least 3 adds in the skill. So you'd have to rearrange
Oh,
things.
I just I just reread that part of the prereq.
but it immediately adds 2 more to it. So if you had a skill in mind, you could rework a skill to make it up to the 3. Take the super skill.
Okay. Just checking here for another one. I apologize.
That's quite all right.
So, I think what I might just go ahead and do is something actually along the lines of, just make sure I actually got the prereq here.
Yep.
Spellcaster, the prereq's cut off.
Okay, so you just want spellcaster, which means you have to have at least 1 add in alteration, apportation, conjuration, or divination. So you'll have to move a skill around. Precog, take it out of precog because you're not a psychic.
Okay.
Precog would be a precondition for one of the psionics, but you don't have a cosm that gives it.
Okay. So I added in the conjuration instead.
Okay. So I'll leave that marked with my finger and go to spells. So conjuration is electromagnetic pulse, fireball, what a surprise. Lightning, which is lightning bolt, mage dark, which is the opposite of mage light, which is also conjuration. Shield, and that's it for the core realm spells, the core book spells.
Okay, I apologize. Can you repeat those one more time for me?
Yep, not a problem. So you get to choose, with spellcaster, you get to choose 3 from the ones you qualify for by having conjuration. What does that bring you to for conjuration? 12, okay. Because that also determines things. So with a conjuration of 12, you can choose 3 from electromagnetic pulse, which it may affect weird science devices in the Nile Empire, but otherwise not as... You may have picked it up because of traveling abroad.
Okay.
You need 2 more points to take Fireball. You need... 2 more points to take Lightning Bolt. You can take Mage Dark, which is a 5-meter radius, meter, not feet, that makes everything pitch black, which is a -6 penalty for anyone acting in that space. Mage Light, which fills everything with light, removing dark or pitch black. Yeah, removes all darkness penalties. I believe you do qualify for, shield on the nose, which adds 1 to all your defenses, or 2 or 3, depending on how well you roll.
That sounds like an obvious.
So those are the 4 that you currently would be able to do, to choose 3 of. EMP, Mage Dark, Mage Light, and Shield. Now, just for consideration while you're thinking...
Does it also apply to the ones in the Nile one?
Yeah, because you're looking, you need to have, it's Conjuration 12 is your current qualifier.
Okay. I was looking at Blue Bands of Bastet, or Bastet. It's Conjuration 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll take that one, Shield and Mage Light.
Okay. I'll quickly grab Mage Light and Shield, since I'm in that area. and spellcaster on the way to shield, or around shield. And spellcaster. There we go. Blue bands of Bastet.
Yeah, it seemed like a good idea.
Okay. And you'll know that notice that your derived traits are mostly filled out. So your dodge is based on your dex because you don't have adds in the dodge skill. Your melee weapons and unarmed combat defenses are based on those skills, which means dex. It shows your intimidation defense because you have adds in that, same with trick, and the others are the flat ones. Your toughness is you might want to get some armor if you take hits. Just saying. Because you have 3 wounds, 11 shocks. Shock's good. That's a nice number, especially if you might foul up some spells. Oak Worker and Spellcaster. So all that's really left for building your character is the name, and of course, image and general equipment. So, can leave you to look through the equipment stuff. You have $1,000 worth of equipment starting off.
Okay.
You may want to make sure that you have a gun and a spell focus and maybe a holy focus, depending. They could double as both, depending on how you just choose to do it. Like I said, with that, other than your character name and coming up with an image and your gear, that's you.
Thank you.
Yay!
Yeah, is Jess currently with us, or up dealing with?
Yeah, no, I'm back.
Okay. I just asked because just jump over to working with yours there, because you have an idea and some thoughts on what you're doing.
I do. I was fucking around with the attributes while you guys were talking.
Okay. You didn't set your cosm to Isle though.
Okay. I didn't know which cosm I was supposed to have.
Yeah, that's fine. As a dwarf, you're from Isle.
Oh, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the plan is she's strong but stupid.
Okay. I can see a bit of that there.
Yeah. That's the idea. I punch things, that's what I do.
Okay. As a dwarf, just so you're aware, you may already have seen it though. Your racial attributes, your charisma and dexterity are a max of 12, but your strength is a max of 14.
Oh, cool. I did not see that.
Yeah.
So, I can't fuck up the numbers anymore though. I don't want to be that stupid.
Okay. Well, what were you going to take from to up your mind?
I don't know. That's the problem. Mind is the dump stat, which I'm okay with. I don't want to fuck around with the numbers any more than that to up the strength more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no, I get that. It's just you're talking about possibly raising your mind. I thought that was what you meant more. Okay.
No, I mean, I don't know where else I could pull from if I wanted to up the strength more.
Yeah. Alright, so since that's taken there, you're done your attributes, so next we move on to your skills, which, again, you have 16 points of skills to assign.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So you can you can look at any of the skills, you can give them a value from 1 to 3 at creation, and you can do that for adding up to 16.
Okay, so I do that in the ads section?
Yes.
Okay.
You're probably going to want melee.
Yeah, melee is definitely definitely a good thing to have there.
Yeah.
There, that is. So we're gonna give that a 2, at least. Because the plan is for her to have some like cybernetic gloves or rings or something that make her hit harder.
Yeah. So if we go the route of cybernetic, there is the increased risk of disconnect when using it, but you can get stuff from outside the Cosm. It's just where the tech axiom for Isle is at 14. If we take something from like Cyber Papacy, Pan Pacifica, where they'll have those type of items, if you're using it on a roll of 1 to 4, because it's called a double disconnect, basically.
Okay.
From a natural roll of 1 to 4, you have to check to see if you disconnect, because you auto-fail.
So what would be more likely for her to have than coming from where she comes from?
But there is the option where you're from Isle to have a magical equivalent.
Okay.
Like gauntlets that give plus to stuff.
Okay. But if she leaves the Isle, then they have the same chance to fuck up?
Well, so you only run the risk of you generally run the risk of the double disconnect rules, the 1 to 4 rules, if it's outside your Cosm reach and outside the reach of the Cosm you're at.
Okay, so if it's from my area, then my brain's like, I know this works, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, so even though it might be a magic item that requires a base magic of 18, and you're using it somewhere with like a 9, like Core Earth, it's only a risk. It's only the auto fail and risk of disconnect on a 1.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Because you are attuned to it, but basically your belief in it working is so strong that you disconnect from your reality because you're like, there's no way it didn't work.
Yeah, this has never failed me before. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because if you're an Isle and you roll that 1, it's just like, you failed.
Yeah. Alright, I'm going to take at least a 1 in... apparently I'm going to take a 2 in unarmed combat.
Okay. I would recommend, as I do to everyone, reality. At least 1 add in reality.
Okay, where is reality?
That's in the other skills. You're currently looking at the top where you've only put 2 in melee so far.
Yes, I am. So that's further down then?
Yeah.
Reality. So 1?
At least.
At least a 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because everyone has to have at least 1 in reality as part of the Storm Knight.
I'm gonna take some in intimidation because she's.
Yeah, and you'll want to bolster that base 6.
Yeah.
You're spirited, but there are perks that can allow you to swap for strength.
So I'm gonna take a 2.
Yep.
And then I will look at those perks.
Yeah, we'll look at that when we get to that part.
Yeah.
It might be we have to take that a little later, but that's fine because you know you're building to doing so. For example.
Right, I know where I'm going. I'm looking at maneuver. What is maneuver used for?
Generally speaking, it's maneuvering yourself or your opponents into a more advantageous position. So it's like, I've justifying wise, it's like I bash my gauntlet against my chest plate, causing them to look towards me as I move over to the left, so that they ignore the hole in the ground between us and move, or the soft sand, stuff like that.
Okay, so it's like boxing type thing.
Exactly. You're finding a more advantageous position, or that puts them at a disadvantage.
That makes sense. So where am I at? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. What the fuck? That's not what I wanted to do.
I was like, you're at 7 currently with 2 in intimidate.
Thanks. Okay, there we go.
8.
Probably throw 1 into dodge. Again, she's a bruiser, so that's mostly what I'm looking at.
Yep.
1 into heavy weapons. Do I need 1 in language?
Heavy weapons are big guns. Or ballistas.
Oh, so I probably wouldn't have that then.
Yeah, you could, but I just wanted to point out that for Isle, it's mostly like using cannons and ballista.
Yeah. Okay. So, do I need 1 in languages?
You don't, because everyone automatically speaks common.
Okay. I'll take 1 in stealth because I seem to be decent at it anyway.
Okay.
And 1 in streetwise. And a little in survival. So that's 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. What's willpower? Is it just like straight up willpower?
Resisting fear effects, mostly.
Okay, we're gonna put...
And every now and then pushing on.
2 in that. Because that makes sense for her. Stubborn has to wharf. Um... 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. Okay, so I got 1 more. Where do I want to stick it?
If you don't have a strong opinion, I would suggest reality.
Stick another 1 in reality, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Because in the situation where you're checking to retain your connection,
It helps.
Yeah, because you might remember that we roll d20s that determine the modifier on your skill.
Okay.
So
Cool.
in the case of an 8, you're only looking for a +2, which I believe, off the top of my head, puts you you're looking at a 13+. Whereas where you were before, you needed like a 15+.
Yeah.
And there are and they can cards obviously to boost everything as well.
Yeah.
So I don't see it in the core book. I know it exists, so I'll take a look for that perk in a bit. Did you have any opinions on your perks?
Yeah, the other 2 that I were looking at were the Dragon Warrior perk from the Dwarven section.
Yep.
And the cyber whatever, but if we're gonna do it with magic instead, the cyber thing doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, let's just see here. So which trait? A second here. Yeah, which enhancement for it are you taking?
Oh, I didn't.
Because you get it plus because you can take it multiple times for adding more to it.
Okay. Is this the dragon thing or is this the cyber thing?
Dragon Warrior.
Okay. Let me go look at it. That's not the right book.
I just put it on your sheet there.
Oh, cool.
So you
that
can
helped.
click on it. Click on the the usual thing, the pencil.
That's not what I meant to do. I meant to do that.
That's fine.
Now everybody gets to see it. So I get to pick one of these off the bat? I thought it was like a... Okay, because I thought it was a build-up thing that I got,
The dwarf can choose 1 enhancement from the list below.
Okay,
and then
cool.
It mentions this perk may be taken more than once. Each time choose another one of these.
Well, actually, for what I'm going for, Dragon Claws make the most sense.
Dragon Claws? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make note of that in the session 0 notes just to be safe, because I should be able to find the thing to add it directly.
Yeah, claw tipped with diamonds. The gauntlet uses unarmed combat to hit and causes a +3 strength. Or strength
2.
+3, armor piercing 2.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, because normally for what you were looking at, we would have to be. There's either very special considerations or having reached the beta clearance, which is 50 XP. That's about 5 games. That's about 10 games.
Yeah.
And at that point, you'd be able to pick something from outside your realm to define your sheet.
But this one just does it for me.
Yeah. So, we still have to look at your other defining perk.
Yeah, which now I have no idea what I want, so.
Yeah. Well, there's there's light and darkness, champions of good and evil, more or less. For Isle specific, you could take. I'm gonna take a look at the other 2 dwarf ones. They're not as big usually. Forsaken's not the best, but it is an option because it also affects bad guys casting miracles at you.
What one is that?
Forsaken.
That's the other dwarven one.
That's one of the other dwarven ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's -4 for any miracles to affect you, but that counts healing as well. Bearded would give you 1 more wound.
Yeah, but I don't think Bearded makes sense for her yet.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. So, do the Cosms have their own perks, or is it just the races that have their own perks?
Nope, Cosms as well. That's why there's light, dark, outsider, which are the Vikings.
Makes sense.
And then there's the non-specific ones, like leadership, prowess, social.
Alright, let's look at the perks. Finally found the right book. I looked at that.
Like there's Brawler, because from prowess.
Yeah.
Because it does stack with the armor type of bonus. It adds +2 damage to your unarmed attacks.
Sweet.
That's an option, because that would make it strength +5 AP too. So that'd be a base 17.
Yeah, that or like hard to kill looks good too, because
yeah, and that's another.
if I'm
one.
gonna be a tank,
yeah,
I should probably be able to take a hit.
Absolutely. Hard to kill adds a wound. So that's always good.
What's Relentless do?
Oh, that's when you do an all-out attack, you can take 3 shock and add an extra bonus die to your damage.
So it's a last ditch.
It can be, yeah, because especially where yours is, you currently only have 6.
Yeah.
With that, you might want to consider the generic perk that gives you +3 toughness, or +2 shock. Endurance. But that you can take that later too, depending how you feel.
Yeah.
Because the big thing is when you take damage, if something is a glancing blow, it's 1 point of shock. If something hits your toughness in the range that doesn't quite penetrate, it's 2 points of shock. And then as you take wounds, you're taking 1 wound, 2 shock, 2 wounds, 4 shock.
Okay. So shock limit to start with is probably better, and then take the wound limit after.
For where you're currently sitting at, yeah, because what would happen basically is if you got someone's attention and they focused on you and they hit you hard. We're talking the range of like a 27 damage, I think, would be required. But it's not out there because bonus dice is a d6, and if it's a 6, it's a 5 plus another die. But if they hit you with 27, you might not. You'll still have I'm on my feet, I'm not down for wounds, but you'd be out cold because it's 6 shock before making the reality check to soak.
So endurance is probably better then, because then it ups my shock limit.
Yeah. And
I'm not gonna get knocked out as easy.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's another reason we're going forward. You might want to slowly build your reality, because that's also your check to soak damage.
Okay.
You spend a possibility, roll a reality check, and depending on how well you succeed is how much damage you soak. Some realms some realms you get everything for a good result. But most of the time it's 1 wound, 2 wounds, all wounds get ignored.
Okay. Cool.
Aurora it doesn't ever get to the all wounds because Aurora is where heroes go to die.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll start with endurance and slowly build the tank.
Certainly. Okay, so with that, similar to Josh, it comes down to your name, finding a nice image for our character, and spending your $1,000 worth of equipment, knowing you don't have to buy armor because that comes with your Dragon Warrior.
It does. So, do I keep putting points in the Dragon Warrior to get more perk?
The more you can buy more perks in Dragon Warrior to add more of the Dragon Warrior armor stuff to it.
Okay.
Like the Mad Jacks.
That makes sense. Alright then.
It is a fairly common, but not always the situation thing, that after the first game, people buy a perk.
Yeah.
Since, 5 XP, 5 XP.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And it's an easy way to, level up your character.
Yeah, because it adds, that's why I call them defining traits.
Yeah.
And since the cost goes up from there, +2 for everyone after that, so 7, 9, it means that you start thinking, you get one out early, and then you start building up other things and saving towards the next one. So you get that one game session, you buy that one perk to help change your character or improve your character in a spot you've noticed in that game you need a little bit more in. And then the next game you go, okay, I've got 3 points I can throw into a skill right away.
Yeah.
And save the other 2, so next game I get a perk again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I assume, for me who knows Torg stuff, I assume that means we're starting at Alpha. Is it Alpha clearance
we're at
for Zero?
Alpha 0 XP, yeah.
Yep, okay. I assumed we were Alpha clearance, but I wanted to check.
Because we're calling it a limited run, we're going to see, because I do have story arcs attached to this story that I've had in my head for a while.
Yeah, it just affects my build knowing which perks I have to prioritize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I have to have them at creation.
Yep. It makes those decisions a little bit trickier.
Sure do.
Alright, so moving over to Alex. If you need some time to think about that stuff, we can do some other conversation for a few moments. But if you know what you're going to do for your build, we'll get into getting your sheet done.
I know for a fact that I'm going to need Bone Marked and Deathclaw.
Okay.
Razor Scaled, Brawler, and Jungle Blessed are ones I'm going to go for later down the line.
Yep. Well, so first we'll start with your stats there.
Okay, I know I want high strength.
Yep.
And for Deathclaw, I have to have High Spirit. I want Mind and Charisma to be my dump stats.
Okay. Well, that's fine, because Charisma and Mind, you have the natural limit maximum of 10. So, dump statting those, the other one's still, you can get up to a 13, no problem in any of the others, but you're not likely to get there without sacrificing everything.
Yeah. Okay,
So you said Bone Marked and Deathclaws?
Yeah, Bone Marked Deathclaw.
Okay.
I'm gonna put my Charisma and my Mind at the minimum.
Okay.
So that's 5.
That's your perks. Change the map there while you set your stats. So there's 5 of the 6 points you've generated, all put into your strength.
Actually, if I'm looking at my math right, if I take 1 from Strength, I can put 2 into Spirit, and that gives me the 10 needed for Deathclaw.
Yep, that would be correct.
Okay.
Okay. So now into assigning your 16 skill adds, at least one of which must be reality.
You said I had how many?
16. Nothing can be above a 3, and has to have at least one in reality. Which, by the way, Josh, that means you'll have to take a skill from somewhere else to put into reality.
Womp womp.
I'm actually, because I forgot that Unarmed uses Dexterity, not Strength. I'm actually going to change my 12 Strength over to my Dexterity.
Or yeah, that'll impact your damage. Maybe make them both 10s.
Smart.
I was thinking, Josh, maybe one from your first aid.
Oh, I took a couple out.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking one from your first aid, because if you have the first aid kit, you roll favored for first aid. 2d20.
That's one thing I didn't find.
Yeah. Alex now with the paladin build. The stats required are all balanced, and the other stats are all bad.
It's the opposite of Shimmer. Well, not entirely.
Yeah.
But still, I had the last time I played Nidino, I had a mute Nidino. Like, I actually had a perk that made them mute. But I was extremely spec'd into socials. So I was all like friendly body language, big happy lizard.
And that's why I need a second screen. To set up. I keep forgetting I need to set my second screen back up. Now, Josh, I could see your post-first game expenditure being a little different from that standard I'm buying a perk, potentially. Simply because you might want to instead spend a couple of those points to give you the skill adds in the other spellcasting traits, or to increase your conjuration. Before taking a perk to get more spells.
Yeah, I just actually noticed that. So what I did is I dropped out survival and tracking.
Yeah.
So I put one back into reality, and then I think I'm going to take right out of the gate a second one in conjuration.
Okay.
So then at least that puts it at 13.
Yeah, so then you drop 3 of the 5 XP to get it to the 14 for the majority of the big bangs, and you can put 1 and 1 in the other 2 casting spell skills. So you have at least the options of those all at 12. Or actually varies because they're not all the same trait. Apportation
So,
spirit.
You mentioned earlier that there was spell focus stuff.
Sorry, what was that, Alex?
I just wanted to confirm, I'm pretty sure my math is off and I have 1 point left, but I can't be certain.
Yeah, you have 15 spent.
Okay.
You're talking gear, Josh?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you were mentioning that there was like a healing focus, and then there was also a magic focus.
That's more of like because you can buy ones that give bonuses. They tend to be expensive. Or you can just I have this item. That's my focus. That's kind of more where things are. I did want to draw your attention to it because you can buy some from the different cosms. That do, like I said, they do give bonuses, but.
Yeah, I noticed the focus rank example, concentration tests become favored.
Yeah.
What does stagger and unwieldy mean regards to weapons?
Well, those are traits, which I'll go to. I'm almost in Malay. I was looking through things.
Okay, no worries.
So with stagger, if you deal any damage to your opponent, they become stymied. That means that they suffer a penalty to their actions following you hitting them.
Okay.
Unwieldy is if you miss, you become vulnerable, making you easier to hit.
Oh, okay.
It's like you overcompensate swinging that giant hammer type of thing.
Makes sense.
Which is why I mentioned heavy weapons are generally like big guns, not big weapon hands. Yes, Alex?
Yeah. I was just going to ask, since I still can't seem to add stuff to my sheet myself, if you could add my my strength +3, armor piercing 2, claws.
I will add the attacks and powers in downtime.
Okay. So I think mine just needs gear now.
Gear, name, you already have your image.
Yes, I do. I did it earlier. Yeah. I might redo it, though, since bone marker are supposed to be paler, so I might redo it.
Sure. I can update it if you do.
Okay.
Question about combat. Yep. So, in the event that you're not trained in, say, melee combat, and you pick up a dagger,
you can still roll. You're just rolling your flat dex.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Well, you're rolling to modify your flat dex. In a cinematic system, there's always things. The really big difference, that for what it comes down to, aside from the adjusted base numbers, is if you're trained, 10 and 20 explode. So you add that die again. You roll another die, add on top of it. If you're untrained, only 10 explodes, adding an artificial limiter.
Okay.
So you roll in that 20, it's like, great, awesome, you most likely hit, but that's the end of the road because you just picked up a bottle off the table and swung it at the guy. As opposed to the mouse grabs the bottle off, swings it, smacks the guy in the back of the head, it explodes, taking him out, and everyone just stops going, whoa. Because that natural 20 became another die and it kept going.
Cool.
So aside from picking, gear, because you can send me a list for it if you need to, because it won't add for some reason. The next major thing is talking about the game itself. So one of the first things that I like to try and talk about, because shenanigans happen, players are players, everyone likes to have a good time and go, hey, can I try this? Now, I mention that because my general stance is if a player can do it, a bad guy can do it. But if it's something out of the box, I won't initiate doing it first. Which, for some people, that establishes that's a sigh of relief, because sometimes I think of things that no one else does.
Mr. Clever Tactician over there.
Sometimes. Not every day is the same as the other. Does anyone wish to make any requests or modifications to that?
I'm fine.
I've played Torg with you before. I like how you run it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm all good with doing this stupid.
Okay. Now, are there similar to a standard consent type form that is now becoming more common in our currently inactive hobby, other than the occasional game that like next weekend?
I'm trying, man.
I know.
Freaking
I know.
Babysitters and head colds.
It's not just you. Trust me. Case in point, my new medication.
Yeah.
Is there any topics or story angles or lines that people want taken off the table? Like things you do not and will not deal with? Keeping in mind that we will be streaming this game, so I'm not going to go whole hog, but there's some...
I can't think of anything personally offhand.
Okay.
But I mean, if something comes up, I would PM you.
I mean, you know most of mine to begin with. Perks of being my fiance, I guess. But, like, I can't stand, like, pictures of eyes.
Yeah.
I can't handle pictures of eyes. I can't handle descriptions or images or anything like that of anybody throwing up, being sick, that sort of thing, as I'm severely emetophobic.
Yeah.
And depictions, while I doubt any stories would go that way, should at least be said, any depictions of homophobia, transphobia, that sort of thing.
Okay. That one, while understandable, that can come up as sometimes as part of like just this is going on over here. So it's always good to know that you want that off the table.
It can happen as like in the background, but I don't want it happening to player characters.
Okay. So not happen to player characters, but is in the background or completely, or story arc? Like stuff is happening that draws you into it because of it. Or just no.
If we get the catharsis of in some way enacting vengeance on anyone who is being a transphobe or homophobe, sure.
Okay.
Otherwise, no. It's just you deal with that shit enough in
Yeah.
real life that
Nope.
it's
Understandable. I'm just gonna currently just take it out because
yeah.
even though there is the opportunity 99 times out of 100 in a game for that catharsis, there is always the chance that things fall apart and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's not fun when at least in my fantasy world, I want to get to give the bigots the comeuppance.
Yeah. Plus, there's plenty of other hatred angles available and stuff like this as well.
Exactly. So yeah, those are my only big ones.
Doesn't tend to be a focus, but it does happen. Okay. Anything from yourself, Josh? Normally your silence is I can't, but I just gotta ask.
Yep, no, I am good. Alex already touched on the eye aspect, and that's basically where I'll leave it.
Okay.
Nice to know it's not just me who absolutely hates eyes.
I was a nurse, or did nursing. The gross is par for the course for me.
I love horror. I love body horror. I love blood, gore, that sort of stuff. Is I like depictions of it in fiction media. There's some really cool art, but I just can't handle eyes, especially zoomed in pictures of eyes.
Okay.
No.
I'm changing the map to the Isle map since I missed doing it while we were working on Jess's character.
It's next to the cyber demons.
Okay.
I gotta look at it now.
So, now we get into a bit of the premise of where things are and where things are going to go. Part of this story is going to be directly attached to the events from the one shot, which I will touch on in the opening of game 1.
Was that the tree one?
Yes, the tree stopping the
Okay.
ritual. But not stopping the comment, just the ritual and the tree itself.
As if you could stop the Gaunt Man.
Well, you can always try. That's the motto of this game. You can always try. You never know. So beyond that, I've been having some thoughts, and we're going to open up in you guys and whatever Chris is making, which we'll get in the information from, to fill that gap, and potentially someone else. We'll see. We still have another 2 weeks before game 1, and people can join later if need be. But basically, starting off, you guys, well, you guys know things like the A-Team, the Losers, the 90s version of the A-Team, or series like Burn Notice, where it's small group of people on the outs, unofficially doing good for other people. You know, maybe it's a job that they've been hired for, maybe not. But with the Storm Knights, that's basically your life and style normally. You're not them. You're the backup team. You're not even the B team. Something went sideways, and the original squad were disappeared. The team originally sent to clean up were able to get things to a certain position, which is where you'll be picking it up, before they had to leave it there or run the risk of being wiped out themselves and the item potentially being lost. You're going in to recover said item. We'll talk about how that game's going to open in our downtime chat, because depending on our conversation between now and then, we might do an in media res, meaning things have already happened. And we'll
Spoiler?
Yeah, but things have we could do potentially an in media res where things have already happened, and then we're flashbacking to bring us back up to time, where we talk about things we've already talked about, but actually resolving them on the screen. Or it could just be here's where you are, what are you doing? Just dropped in cold open. Now, with that also said, your Cosm that you're going to start off in, like it or not, can you guess?
Please, not a Rorsch.
No, it's not a Rorsch. You will be.
Thank God.
in Tharcold.
Cyber demons!
Lovely.
I love the cyber demons.
The Tharkoldu map is multicolored because it's divided between warlords. We will not be, due to still ongoing situations, we will not actually be having things happening in Ukraine. I do have a location in mind, and I believe people will appreciate it as you try and recover the item and get out of the territory to a rendezvous pickup as the first part of the story.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Okay. Now, as I said, it's really weird thinking of it from my perspective and going, okay, you're not the A team, you're not even the losers, you're not the B team. You're the guys that we had available that might be able to pull this off.
I was gonna say, my question was, are we not the B team because we're so good or because we're so bad?
Because you're new to the job, but you just happen to be available.
So we were what was left over.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
You could turn out to be a super amazing team, but it's not like they had options.
So instead of them sending in like J or K or even the cleanup crew after the mind wipes, we're like the dog and whoever and the aliens that show up afterwards.
The dog and the worms.
Or based on reviews, not the actual movie. You're the Men in Black International.
There you go. Yeah. I didn't mind the movie.
The movie was decent, but based on reviews, they were definitely nowhere near that echelon.
That's fine. I'm building another point my hammer character.
Always good.
The best.
They seem to work well for me.
So, judging by everything in the holes, Chris's character's probably going to want to have some charisma.
Have a little tiny bit. Tiny bit. I'm not like a minimum charisma.
Well, because in the interest of cinematic games, Torg Eternity does not do shopping trip games. You generally don't, like I said, you generally don't earn money. You generally pick up stuff in the field, and you can make a check every so often of either Streetwise or Persuasion to try and get access to more stuff.
Find pretty stuff.
Yeah. Otherwise, you have the gear that you started off with, which you'll be reloaded consistently, because that's your loadout. And other than that, every now and then the Del High Council goes, you really need to take this with you. But they're fighting a literal world's war.
Yeah. You only get the new weapons if you're in the area where they need them used.
Yeah.
Basically.
I have watched all of the documentaries.
That said, sometimes the feet on the ground are the best friends you can have.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've got a question.
Certainly. This is a great time for questions.
Oh, it's a wonderful one. What happens in Tharcold with a really low spirit?
Tharcold, not as much of an issue.
Okay.
Everyone will have issues when we go to Aurorsh, because charisma versus corruption.
Yeah. No, I was looking at the overall cosms or what have you. Looking at the numbers, and I was like, "Ooh, Spirit's a tank in Tharcold."
Yeah. So basically, Spirit is a tank in Tharcold because, well, you have cyber demons and invading psionics and pain technology. So
awesome. All the negatives.
There's not a lot of faith in this area.
little to no hope that things are going to get better.
Yeah. And the world laws of Tharcold are the law of domination. The first and most important law of the cosmos is simple. The strong take what they want because they can. The weak must either serve the strong or rely on their mercy, a commodity in very short supply. Everyone in the realm is either a dominant or a submissive. In general, reality-rated heroes and villains count as dominant, and everyone else is submissive. Game Master may rule in specific exceptions as the situation warrants, but general submissive individuals do what any dominant personality orders them to do without question, because they could feel the possibility power in you.
So it's like prison. You take out the biggest guy in the yard, and you're fine.
Yep.
Well, that's a far tamer read on it than when I first heard this Cosm explained.
So, in Tharcold, because the world law actual power effects are in place, the law of domination has the effect of domination. When intimidation is an approved action, meaning it shows up on the initiative card for the round or the dramatic scene, a success allows the character to draw 2 destiny cards and choose which one to keep instead of the normal 1, which they just get. They must discard the other. Outside of combat, the first successful intimidation attack against a reality-rated character in an act will also give a draw from the deck. And once that character's been intimidated, further successes will only have the usual results. But it's possible to force villains into a submissive role towards the heroes through proper placements and intimidations or big rolls. Like a player's call on intimidate might allow you to go your minions, point at the big bad guy and have the minions jump him because they're more afraid of you than him.
I like it.
The second
looking
law,
at 12 intimidation.
Yeah, the second law is the law of ferocity. The techno-demons and the humans who thrive in their service are short-tempered, brutish, and zealously suspicious. They trust no one and believe tearing down a rival mentally and physically is a sound preemptive tactic. Kindness is simply a window of vulnerability, waiting to be exploited by someone who understands the world better. Beings from Tharcold generally aren't subtle, but they are ruthless and murderously effective, both in political maneuvering and in combat. Ferocious nature of the realm accentuates violence, and most conflicts end with bloodshed. Hold nothing back, give no quarter, and always shoot first.
So it's the one area we should probably murder Hobo.
If things go sideways, then yes. In Tharcold, if things go sideways, start shooting.
Yes.
Fight your way out.
Or in my case, swinging.
Yeah. And the last law is the law of pain. Tharcold is a savage place of blood and barbarism. Pain works as a source of power, literally. The secret to activating many demon devices and implants is the suffering of the user, or an unfortunate proxy. Vril, sometimes called agonite, is a form of crystallized suffering demons occasionally use as a fuel. Inflicting pain draws palpable energy from the target, but for some, suffering has become a gateway to strength as well. This economy of torment reinforces the do unto others before they can do to you aura of the realm. Tharcold occult tech works in the same principles, trading constant anguish from implants for inhuman power. Even those without precognition can feel the suffering that reverberates throughout the realm. And the in-game effect of pain is, this brutal cosm rewards those who inflict great suffering. A character recovers one shock if his actions cause one or more wounds. The demons of Tharcold often harm their own pitiful thralls to prolong their loathsome existence when engaged in direct combat with belligerent monkeys.
Nice.
Are we the belligerent monkeys?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a lizard, thank you very much.
Lizard monkey.
So, B, just really quickly, I had to readjust my skills. I noticed one of the spells I took required a faith of 14.
Okay.
So I removed, one of my skills and upped my fate from 2 to 3.
Okay. That's fine. I'm surprised, but at the same time not super surprised that was missed, but happens.
Oh, also, I've spent my, I know what I've spent my money on for gear for my character.
Okay.
Delphi Council Survival Kit Living Land costs $250. The two tribal markings for the golden scales, which is $250. And then, with the remaining money leaving me $50 left over, 3 doses of Daragen Venom.
Okay.
Which you can probably assume what I'm going to do with it.
Okay.
I think mine's done, but do you want me to just PM them?
Yeah, absolutely. Same with Alex, ideally.
Okay.
I already put mine on my
that-
sheet.
I don't know how.
How did you do that? I can't add shit on my sheet.
You just drag it.
Yeah, I just searched for them and then drag and drop them directly into gear.
You can do what?
Yeah. That's why I apologize for them not being sorted, because you can drag and drop once I allowed you guys access to them.
I didn't know that. Well, I'm going to do that now.
Okay.
So while that's being done, I'll just quickly touch back upon one of the core system items and the modified items for the game of possibilities. Now, when I refer to modified, I don't mean we're actually changing how they work. I'm just going to also tell you about the Cosm-specific possibility energy as well, in case you earn some, or more accurately, are presented with the option to take some. Sometimes I'll give them automatically, but most of the time I'll present you the option, which would you prefer? So, player characters, aka Storm Knights, Stormers, which are reality-rated NPCs, and some of the creatures have possibilities. Those can be used to enhance your chances of success. You have 3 base possibilities. There are perks that allow you to have more, and and cards that allow you to transfer them back and forth. Plus, you can earn more as you go. But base is 3. Anytime you attempt any action, you may spend a possibility to roll another die and add it to the die roll. Under most circumstances, that die is automatically a minimum of a 10, but not the magical power of an exploding 10. It's a 10 plus. It's a plus 10. Only one possibility may be spent per action normally. Additionally, like we mentioned, soaking is another use of your possibilities. As you reach out and look for the possible world where you didn't just get destroyed. So you spend a possibility and you roll your reality, and you're generally looking a 10 plus to start with. There is the write-up. I always like to actually read the write-up and not just go off of memory.
How did you drag and drop it? Because I can't seem to.
What I did is I just went to my character sheet, went to gear, and then went to the little items section on the right-hand side, searched for the item, and then just literally dragged it over.
Okay, that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, so to soak damage, the injured character spends a possibility and makes their reality test immediately after the damage is determined, but before it actually takes effect. It's a free action. Can even be attempted if you're KO'd. The difficulty number is 10. Negates the following injuries. So a 10 to a 14 is 1 wound and all shock. 15 to 19, 2 wounds and all shock. And 20 plus is typically all wounds and shock. But those can be changed by the world laws. Soaking doesn't restore anything that you've already taken. Just what's happening with that attack.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Now, in addition, Each cosm has its own possibility energy, and the possibility energy of Tharcold allows you to additionally have the option of spending it to re-roll your bonus dice for damage and take the better of the two totals. However, if it is spent to soak or boost a soak attempt, any success only eliminates half of the shock done rather than all the shock.
Because of the
law
fact
of
it's
pain.
pain law. Yeah, makes sense.
Just like the law of ferocity is why it's you get to re-roll your bonus damage to add to your damage, but you take the better of the two rolls regardless what happens.
These guys are going to need your healer.
Good thing he upped his faith so he has a chance of getting better rolls.
Yeah, exactly.
First aid generally takes 10 minutes to do. Can only be done once per scene. Just like magical healing can only usually be done once per target per scene.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
But if someone else winds up, doing stuff, they can make checks as well. It's just you can only heal Alex and Matilda and Chris's character once per scene. If Chris also has healing, he can then heal everyone once per scene too. Ideally speaking, you won't need to worry about too much early on. But anything can happen.
Okay.
Were there any other questions or anything that we'd like to go over?
A real quick question.
Yep.
What's Axiom?
Those are the items at the top of your sheet there. Like magic, social, spirit, tech.
Yep.
And that determines how advanced or powerful that section is naturally able to be done in that area.
Oh, okay. So, like, if I'm looking at, say, my spells or my miracles,
Yeah.
I noticed that they had, like, the skill or minimum value, which is kind of where I found the wither problem.
Yeah.
But then I noticed there was an axiom value right above it.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering.
So if that axiom value is higher than your axiom value and the realm you're in, it's a 1 to 4 auto fail and chance for disconnect. If your personal axiom permits it, and the realm you're in doesn't, it's a 1. If your personal axiom doesn't permit it but the realm does, it's a 1. And if both permit it, one's just an auto fail.
Okay.
As you're trying to push past your limits or the realm's limits or both. And you and the realm, well, apparently you're equally resistant.
So I can't put my dragon claws on there. Do
Yeah.
I just do it as like an unarmed attack and then add it after the fact?
Well, like I said, I can add that stuff on too to make sure
Okay.
it gets added. Because
It was the only thing I couldn't add because I've got the perk on there and I can find the perk, but I couldn't find the specific claws.
Yeah, no, I can.
As a weapon.
I was gonna sweep through and make sure everything's up to date before 2 weeks' time when we actually have our first.
Okay, cool. I think I got the rest of my gear on there.
Okay.
I don't have a whole lot because she's dwarf, so where she's from.
Yeah. And because of where you are, you could technically spend some of it on Tharkoldu level stuff, but most of the stuff you'd probably be interested in is pricey anyway.
Yeah, I'm probably good with what I got. Just
Yeah.
start with the basics.
Nice basic armor there.
Yeah, I figured just pretty much roundabout, and, if I use all my ammo, then at least I got a dagger.
Did you see? Let me see if it's there actually. Did you also see, in case you have it, Mask from the Nile book?
Yeah, no, I did see Mask from the Nile book. I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? Not yet.
Is it what I think it is?
Well,
It's quite literally-
it can be either literally just a domino mask, or it can be up to anything beyond it. But in the Nile Empire, if he has a mask, it doesn't have to be the bonus defensive one there that costs money. But if he has a mask that he wears in the Nile Empire, when he's wearing it, you don't recognize him when he takes it off.
Nice.
It's like he's like two different people.
It's very silly.
Yeah, it's quite literally like the super campy noir-esque of, oh my gosh, I didn't realize you were Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking like Jim Carrey.
Oh, no. I mean, there are magical masks like that, but that's not the Nile Empire. Okay, well, if there's not much else, I think that we can probably close down here at 10 p.m., having put 2 hours into a session 0 character design and giving you a brief outline of what you might be able to expect.
Yeah. No, this was good. Thank you very much, B.
Character
I
sheet
had
wasn't
fun.
as bad as I was expecting.
Yeah. No,
It does most of the math for you.
It does. It does, and the system itself, as you may have noticed, has a fairly easy build.
Yeah.
It's just understanding what that means to you is usually the longest part of it.
Yeah, like what does
I
this
find looking through
thing
perks
do?
first was real. Like when I first started playing, looking through perks first was kind of helpful because it helps you see what you might want to build towards.
Yeah.
Gives you some ideas of what characters can do, that sort of thing.
Right, and I think that's why mine was easier too, because I had the perks already kind of quasi picked out, and I
Yeah.
had a build in my mind.
Exactly. Because that circles back to why I call them defining traits.
Yeah.
And fortunately, while they do get more expensive, it's not quite the same as talking about things like the feat tax.
Yeah.
There are perks that require you to have other perks before you can buy them, but that's generally because they are well worth it, and the other perks aren't exactly slouching either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth. All of my characters have definitely paid the perk tax, and it has been 100% worth it.
Oh, and Josh, in case you come across it while reading in between, I do run a because can't seem to have found it having been made yet. I do run a custom variant of Magister that applies for Faith. Because there's a Magister perk that allows you to cast 2 spells in the same action round, but there wasn't one for Miracles. So as long as it's not like the Lightning Strike, then I do have a perk that allows that too.
Neat. I might look into that at some point, but yeah, I did read it really briefly when I was going through everything. So
because normally when you multi-act with spellcasting, you can do a spell and then something else.
cool.
Yeah, and it's a little weird because doing melee physical stuff, guns, you can do stuff double act. There's a perk for psionics to do 2 psionics at a turn.
Yeah.
There's a perk for spellcasters to do 2 stuff at a turn. Miracles, no.
And one of the dev diaries did mention they had planned to do so, but they might have lost track because of all the other work they had to do.
Yep.
But it's that's an easy house rollable one anyway.
I can definitely see this character mostly focusing on building up Dragon Warrior and physical perks.
Yeah, I already have a list of other perks that I want to take that all basically amount to, if you hit me with an unarmed strike, it's going to hurt you, and I'm going to hit you with my claws like a truck.
Yep.
All right. Well, at this juncture, for purposes of the stream, I'm going to bid everyone that may have tuned in a good evening, a good day if you watch at some other time, and thank you for listening. And join us in 2 weeks' time when we start. We should be playing session 1 on the 26th of March. Night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.